Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. Hope you're doing well. So, we all know who Hassan Piker is, right? The streamer that probably keeps popping up on your Twitter feed. I feel like he's generally known for making the worst takes out of like the three bigger political streamers, at least on the left side. He's also another person that likes to get really defensive when someone calls him out. For example, like a couple of months ago, I believe the Willie Mack show called him out for something about the war that's going on with Palestine and Israel. And I think that entire video on its own was like 3 hours, 14 minutes or something like that. And I straight up watched him for an hour use some of like the worst debate tactics that I've probably ever seen on this platform. And it seemed to me that like whenever Hassan gets called out for something that he thinks wasn't a big deal, or he thinks that he apologized for already and somebody's just coming after him for it again, he'll do this like really annoying thing where he'll try to look for any inconsistencies in your rhetoric at all. I'm talking about like if the conversation was about a red hat and you accidentally said blue hat while speaking, and everything else that you're coming at him for is pretty much correct, but it's that one thing he keeps LARPing on. It's this coupled with a couple of things that have happened in the past and this situation that we're talking about today that kind of lead me not to like Hassan as a streamer. I know a lot of people think he's like the worst streamer ever. I'm sure there are worse streamers, but as far as political streamers go, I mean, I really don't like him. But recently, everyone's coming after him on Twitter for saying something that kind of just makes no sense. It's the whole thing about being a full-time streamer is harder than actually having a real job.
Yes, a real job can be gruesome. A real job can make you very tired. But a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. You know what I mean?
And for those of you who have been on the channel long enough, you guys will remember a video that I did on, I forget his name or for how to pronounce his name. I think it's like Kayamintz. He was a TikToker like I think last year or a couple of years ago that pretty much said the same thing. And he was like, my job is harder than your 9 to 5. And all he did was go to 7-Eleven to get snacks, never drank water, and just streamed. Which, you know, I don't know how that's harder than working in an oil rig or just doing a regular job that's more labor intensive, or even just not really labor intensive at all. Let's say it's something that's in like a similar setting, for example, an accountant. I'm sure being an accountant for maybe a Fortune 500 company is way more stressful than being a streamer. And let's be honest, I mean, why do you think streaming and content creation is so sought after by this general population? It's because nobody wants to do a labor intensive job, man. Like you think of like almost any job, right? Car salesman, mechanic, plumber, masonry, policeman, firefighter, whatever. Some of those jobs, and actually a lot of those jobs, especially in construction, you have the chance of losing your life. And being a streamer, the only way that you're really in danger is if you're sitting for long periods of time for hours, and even then you can still stand up. On top of that, you can work at your own pace. You are your own boss, essentially. I guess unless you're with an MCM. Now, maybe socially speaking, I mean, right, for your personal social life, streaming 8 to 9 hours every day for a week, it can probably be taxing, but at the same time, I mean, like, yo, you know how many streamers play games with their friends at the same time? Like, you get what I'm saying? It's not really a hard adjustment to make. Even for political streamers, you can play games while talking politics. And as a famous political content creator, you probably do have friends that also talk politics. You can have debates online, which you probably have already. There are ways to incorporate your friends and your like social life into your content. And there's also such thing as like taking a break, man, especially for someone who has a dad who's borderline a billionaire. So for Hassan to come out and say something like this, I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. And what's even funnier is that his responses on Twitter just low-key make him look worse. It is wild how a completely out of context clip made its way to Twitter so fast. I was talking about how much a 9-hour stream eats away at my social battery and how I socialize after. Comparing it to my sales job before, I recognize how fortunate I am every day. And I say this makes him look bad because the actual context of it was that he thinks being a streamer is harder than having a 9 to 5, whether that be socially or otherwise. And it's evident by other people who also saw the clip. As someone who has worked a 12-hour shift with 4-hour commutes while going to university full-time, streaming is easily one of the hardest jobs I've had. The post-stream social exhaustion is so real, I don't even know how anyone could do it every day. My goodness. And people say that I have the worst takes ever. Do you guys not know who Hassan is? Like, damn. Like I said before, streaming compared to like being a firefighter or a cop, for example, it's completely night and day. I mean, don't you think those cops and those firefighters out there would rather be sitting at home doing whatever they liked instead of almost like dying? I'm sure that if you ask them in the moment, they'd probably prefer to, you know, just sit at home or be in another position that doesn't have them almost dying. But you know, somebody's got to do it, right? Meanwhile, I mean, you're at home sitting down in front of your audience of however many followers you have, streaming from what, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. if you want. Nobody's telling you to go help build that skyscraper that, you know, at the 100th floor, a gust of wind might be able to knock you off and send you to your grave. You know, nobody's really telling you that. And just like Mudahar replies in this tweet, streaming is by far one of the easiest, most privileged jobs one can have. I mean, like, there's a reason for so many years, especially in like the early days of content creation, nobody took this stuff seriously, or no one who would be considered to have real jobs would take this seriously. But yeah, I think you can add this to the history book of terrible Hassan Piker takes. And I guess that'll be it for me today, guys. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button. If you want more content similar to this, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Sub up, stay safe, and peace.